question that I get asked a lot about driving an EV is, do you go crazy having to charge up the vehicle all the time because you drive so much? And the answer to that is sometimes I do. Sometimes I go crazy when I have to charge up. It's kind of irritating. But in the very beginning, I don't think it was more fun. Like it was so, God, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the right word, but it was so intriguing. It used to be very, very challenging for me. I mean, I was really, really challenged by, oh, where am I going to charge when I get to wherever I'm going? So when I reach my destination, where will I charge? For some reason, this used to be so exciting to me to see how I'd plan out my day. Like, I mean, basically to plan out my day and make sure that I was always somewhere where I could get a charge when I was, you know, once I reached my destination. I always found that to be just exciting and fun. I don't know any other way to put it, but it was just a lot of fun to look at my PlugShare app and just see where all of the charging locations were, and say, you know, if I was planning to go somewhere, like, well, if I get to this place, you know, where am I going to plug up and charge so I'll have enough juice to get back, or more than enough? I mean, it was a big challenge to me. It was a lot of fun. Now, of course, you know, fast forward 14 months later, I'm a little tired at times, but like I said, if you stick with always charging, just make sure when you get somewhere and you plug up and you have downtime, if you get 5 miles of range, so what? You know, it's better than 0 miles, right? So that's the thing, that it starts to become second nature. Just making sure that wherever you go, like, okay, yeah, I can plug up here, keep it charged. Make sure you always plug up at night. You know, I'm a lot worse at that than I thought I would be. I thought that I would never screw up plugging up at, you know, the night before, and I have, and there's really no excuse for it. Over the past couple months especially, I've just become really forgetful when it comes to plugging my car in. It's just like a simple act. You pull into your garage, you park, you get out, you plug in the charger. But I tend to just forget to do this quite a bit. So whenever I'm in a situation where I'm experiencing range anxiety, I can't blame anyone but myself, because all I had to do was plug the car in the night before. Most of the time when I take these long journeys, I typically just do a round trip without having to worry about charging. It just takes away from my ability to roam around a lot once I reach my destination. But I've been doing that quite a bit, you know, making long trips that say take maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours to get there, and we'll have enough battery to make it all the way back without it becoming a nightmare. The number one question I get is, how long does it take to charge your Tesla? Well, I have a 90D, so I'm going by a 90D, okay? So with a 90D, it would take probably, if I had to guess, or according to Tesla stats, it would take 72 hours to charge that battery up to full if it were completely dead, a 90D. That's 72 hours, 3 days, okay? But that is if you plugged into a 110 or 120 volt electrical outlet. So from there, let's just move up. I don't have a ton of experience with the NEMA 1450, but from what I understand, it's somewhere in the ballpark of 10 hours with a NEMA 1450. That's your 220 or 240 volt. I use a high-powered wall connector, and with that, it charges at a rate of 49 miles per hour. Sometimes it can hit 50 miles of range per hour, but going from completely dead, that's a 5-hour charge on the nose, 5 hours. And with the Supercharger, I don't think I've ever sat at a Supercharger longer than an hour. So I would have to say, if you were completely out of juice, you'd be looking at an hour at least. But your average charge time, now that I've gone from like the worst case scenario, like just you're basically going from the bottom, from empty to nothing. Let's just go with like average charge times. Let's just say your battery is halfway, okay? So with it being half full, just doing your routine stop, it usually doesn't take more. I'll go right back to the Supercharger and say, Supercharger, just to do your routine top off to bring it back up to 90%, you could be looking at anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes. At home, it could be anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours. It really depends on that. So the way I generally operate, I just plug the car in when I get back home, and at the rate that it charges up, I mean, typically it doesn't take me more than an hour and a half to get the car back up to a full charge. So if it's 2 hours or more, then I am really driving around a lot, and that's I consider that to be more closer to the empty side. Well, with a typical 90% charge with a 90D, and that's if I drive in standard non-chill mode, I could probably get about 170 to 175 miles of range out of the battery, and that's over a year of use. In the beginning, it was more than that. It was probably around 200 or so in the beginning. So that is pretty much 90%. Your 70%, you're looking at about 100 and maybe 150 miles. So your 70%, you're looking at roughly 150 miles or so that you can get on a charge. These are numbers like as if you were to take it close to the bitter end, okay? Charging it all the way up 100%, I'm confident that I can get between 190 and 200 miles I can pull out of a full charge if I charge that thing all the way up. And right now, after a year of use, my full charge is coming in at 252 miles. So I've lost 5 miles off of what it used to be. Actually, I've lost 8 miles because it used to say 260 when I first got it. This pretty much leads me into the next question I get asked a lot. Is the battery pack like a cell phone battery or a computer battery or any kind of lithium-ion battery that you would deal with a gadget or phone or anything like that? Answer to that is, well, it kind of depends. I'm going to say that it's not exactly like it, but it is similar, because Tesla uses this technology where, and this was one of the main questions I asked one of the Tesla sales reps when I was looking at a Tesla, is will this thing end up being like my phone, where when you first get an iPhone, for example, the battery life is amazing. And, well, I shouldn't say amazing, because if any of you ever owned a BlackBerry, you will know what amazing battery life is. I know BlackBerry sucks. I get it. I ditched them too once the second iPhone came out. I was gone. But the battery life on that first BlackBerry that I owned, I had this BlackBerry, gosh, I don't know if it was back in 2003 or... Look, it was a long time ago. And they had just come out with the color display for the BlackBerry. But you could literally use this thing for a week and a half to 2 weeks almost, and you didn't have to charge it. It was phenomenal. I've never seen battery life like it since. I mean, that thing was amazing. So anyway, when you first get your iPhone, let's get back to 2018, when you get that iPhone, and at first the battery life is a lot better, and then within a year of ownership, I mean, the battery life is not awful, but you're definitely seeing and feeling the battery degradation. Well, with the car, it's a little different, because I'm going on 15 months right now of ownership, and I have to say that while there has been some degradation for sure, it's not the exact same as a phone. So like I said, it depends. It depends on how you handle the charging. I think I've taken very good care of the battery. I think I've done very well with the charging, and I don't think I abuse or overuse the superchargers. I typically charge at home. I charge at home more than anywhere, and I think that I'm doing really well in comparison to some other Tesla owners I know, and comparing what they get out of their battery. I mean, I know guys who just always charge their battery to full, and it hasn't helped them. I can tell you right now. I mean, I know one guy in particular, he has a 90D as well. Now his is an AP1 model, I'm an AP2, and we're a good 30,000 miles apart, or maybe 25,000 miles apart, and that, of course, him being in the lead. His full charge is around 240 miles. That's his 100% when he charges up his 90D. And mine's at 252, and he's been in the 240s for quite some time. You know, and I keep giving him tips and stuff of how to handle it. I've heard that you're supposed to charge the battery, if you really want to get the best usage out of any lithium-ion batteries, but especially with these EVs, that you should charge it up to 70% and call it a day. Charge it up to 70. Yes, that means you're going to be charging it up more, but if you charge it up to 70, it's supposed to really it's supposed to just keep it at optimal performance. And I've experimented with it a little bit. It works. I have to vouch for it. It definitely works. All right. So back to the root of that question, it all depends. It is not exactly like a cell phone or laptop or anything like that, but you do lose some range as time goes on. Another question I get a lot is, do you think the battery will last? I mean, during that 8-year infinite mile warranty? And my answer to that is no. I just don't. As far as I know, well, first of all, the reason I say no is because the Model S hasn't been in production for 8 years yet. And as far as I have seen, most stories you hear about these people who get like 200,000 or 300,000 miles out of a battery or a Model S, or I don't know anyone who's gotten 200,000 or 300,000 miles out of a Model X yet. But those people, they always seem to run into some sort of an issue with the battery to where they end up having it replaced. But at least Tesla's good for it, and they'll put another battery in the vehicle. So that's a good thing. So the answer to that is no. I don't think that the battery technology has been perfected well enough to last the full 8 years that the battery is warranted for. Absolutely. In a big way. I mean, if you want to watch a range of, say, 250 miles go to 100 miles in the span of an hour and a half, just launch all the time. Just launch on every takeoff and just push that pedal to the floor as much as you possibly can, and you will see that range go like it's not even gasoline equivalent, really. If you are heavy on the accelerator, you will be recharging a lot. So keep that in mind. Anyway, I'm sure there are plenty more questions that can be asked. If you have any, please leave them in the comments below. And thank you very much for watching this video.